ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Tell me about this. I want to know more.
Oh, yeah. No.
Holy cow.
We've had a lot of fun.
So my daughter has already advised us as to what she would like for her graduation present, which
Isn't
of course...
that thoughtful of her?
Isn't that
Get
nice?
it right out there so that you have plenty of time to pick it up.
Well, she's giving us lots of lead time because it looks like we're going to have to save for this gift.
Oh, my.
If it comes to fruition. So
yeah.
She wants to go to Iceland for her grade 12 graduation present. I got a bracelet. My husband got a card. She wants a trip to Iceland.
What do you think what my parents gave me? It might have been a piece of jewelry.
Can we say indulged much?
I got a lovely paperweight from my parents' friends that I still have.
A paperweight, right?
And a pen with my name on it from my former brother.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I got a cross pen at some point.
Everybody, I think, got pens in the 80s, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Now, aside from the fact that, seriously, a trip, here's a pen. Why does she want to go to Iceland? Is she doing this by herself? Is there something going on there that she wishes to partake of? She just opened a book and an atlas and put her finger down and said, there's where I want to go?
It's a hot happening destination.
Well, sure, but I wouldn't think it's a place that a young woman all on her own would just pick that place to go.
We would go. She wants my husband and I to go. How very kind of her to invite us on the trip that we're paying for.
That's right.
She wants us to go.
I might need things along the way, so come and bring your credit card.
Exactly. Yes, see, kids these days want their parents around because their parents pay for everything.
That's right.
No, honestly, she's worked super hard through high school. I won't deny her of the fact that she does deserve some recognition. I'm not sure if a trip will be the answer, but she wants to go to Iceland because she, wants to go somewhere different, and the photo opportunities, not just for Instagram, but, because she's a photographer.
Well, a place that's different. Yeah, she could go to the Grand Canyon. Beautiful photos there.
Yeah, but
a couple of states away.
Everybody goes there.
I bet there's lots of obscure places in the continental United States and Canada that would be just fine.
Bet there are, but she thinks that
she's determined.
She's determined. She thinks this is what is going to happen. So, did you get graduation gifts? Because I know, like I said, I got a bracelet, and that was about it.
I'm sure I got a graduation gift of some sort. It was not that lofty.
No.
Might have been college tuition. But no, I'm sure they gave me something. But it was I would bet it was a piece of jewelry of some sort, maybe a bracelet.
Yeah. Or an engraved pen.
Right.
Pen and engraved
pencil. Pen, classic graduation gift.
Oh, that's
yes.
right.
Pen and pencil.
Yes,
set.
Absolutely.
In its very own case.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Little faux,
how about you, Catherine?
A wallet.
Yes.
A briefcase.
Faux leather.
That's the extravagant gift is
that's
a briefcase.
For college.
Because that's what every college student needs.
College.
Maybe that's a college graduation gift.
Yeah, when you're about to go
I know
get
my
a
husband
job.
got one.
And you need a
super high-tech backpack for a high school if you're going to college. New computer, perhaps, would not be unreasonable.
Yeah.
She just got one. Yeah.
A trip to a exotic place for no other reason than that it sounds interesting seems like a potentially really bad idea. But have fun. Send us postcards.
I did love Iceland.
Right.
It's very...
Well, Catherine can tell
very
you
cool.
all about
it.
You could bring her along too, and she could be your tour guide.
She could be our tour guide.
There's some stuff I missed when I went there, so, I could go back.
Well, apparently there's some kind of museum that is of the X-rated kind.
And don't forget, I was in Iceland with 27, 12, and 13-year-old boys. And it's literally a penis museum. And there's big posters all over downtown advertising the penis museum. You can imagine how well that went over with all the boys.
Yeah. So no, we'll see what happens. Stay tuned, folks.
Yes, but you're leaning towards doing this for her?
Oh no, I didn't say that. Oh heck no.
Okay. Give her do for this like my dad did with me for colleges. You put down a map, you draw a circle of an acceptable radius, and you say, in this case, we will travel somewhere within this amount of mileage from home.
Yes, we are not leaving San Bernardino County.
A
whole week at Disneyland.
Oh, that would be like a nightmare for her.
She would not.
That would be, that would be.
You could stay by the pool at the hotel.
Yeah.
Used to be a nice bar there at the Disneyland Hotel. As I recall from my early 20s days.
There you go.
That would be a nightmare. No thanks.
All right. Well, should we get started here?
Yes.
Like Nicole said, we'll stay tuned to find out where Krista gets to go, if anywhere. Or if she
anywhere,
has to
she might just get
have a nice pen.
Pens are useful. Right. Can't go wrong with a pen.
So, hello and welcome to Parenting Roundabout, a weekly podcast about the things that parents are talking about, obsessing about, and complaining about right now. I'm Catherine Haleko, and with me today are Nicole Eridix.
Hello.
And Terri Morrow.
Hello.
So today on the podcast, we're going to talk about sad movies on our speed round, shout out some stuff we like on the Roundabout Roundup, and do some shameless self-promotion. But first, speaking of sad, we have some sad news to report.
Yeah.
Yes. I've been talking here quite a bit lately about my dog, My Girl, who has not been doing really well. I think I talked about a new kind of expensive food we were getting for her to get her to eat, and some, website where we were getting medications, and just the fact that she had sort of been in low spirits for a few months. Before that, regular listeners of this podcast may have heard her barking in the background. She was always a very spirited pooch, and if there was anything budging within a square mile of our house, she would have to bark at it. But she's been declining for a while. And this past weekend, I was sleeping on the couch, as I do, and around 2:30 in the morning, I heard her just crying in a way that sounded not so much like pain, but like fear. And I went over to her, and she couldn't get up. It looked to me like her back leg was not working. It was sticking out at a weird angle, and she would keep trying to get up and then falling forward. And so over the course of the evening, she did a little, she kept going up and down the hall. She went almost into the bathroom. She went almost into the bedroom. We would turn her around, but she would keep getting up and then falling forward and then crying and then panting and then being quiet for a few minutes and then freaking out again. So it was a very rough night, and I stayed with her and held her and tried to comfort her as best I could without really knowing what was going on. So as soon as the vet was open the next Saturday morning, I guess it was Friday night into Saturday morning this was all happening. So Saturday morning we took her to the vet, and he quickly assessed that she had had a stroke and her entire left side was paralyzed, and also that she was blind. And she had a seizure while we were there in the office, and it seemed like she had pretty much come to the end, so we sort of helped her out. Oh. And, we've said goodbye to dogs before. We tend to adopt older dogs, and so you get a nice, calm dog who knows not to be in the house, but you also know that you're going to have a shorter amount of time with them. So since My Girl had been sort of declining for a while, we were somewhat prepared, but it was still kind of tragic. And I felt so sorry for how scared she had been, and glad that we didn't have to prolong it any longer, because she was, imagine waking up at night, you can't move half your body and you can't see.
Yeah.
We would be freaking out too. And there's no way you can explain it or say, hey, let's go get physical therapy for 3 months and put you in MRIs and do all this stuff. So, So we said goodbye. And it's been a little rough at my house. My daughter was very, very close to this dog, particularly because she came at a time in my daughter's life where she was home a lot, more than she had been before. And so they spent a lot of time together. The dog always used to jump on her bed and hang out in her bedroom. It's one of the times we realized there was something wrong with the dog when she stopped jumping up on the bed. So anyway, in talking about this, it got us thinking about pet loss in general as a topic that is a big one for families. And, how you deal with it, how your kids have dealt with it. My daughter took it very hard. My son seems to not be taking it hard at all, but I know that I see a little bit in his behavior or the way he's talking about her still, that it's affecting him as well. And, we will eventually probably get another dog. My husband does not like dogs. I mean, he doesn't dislike dogs so much as he never had a pet growing up and he doesn't really see the need for it. And the expense and the dog hair on the carpet and the dog poop in the backyard and the need to walk it and the, need to board it when you go on vacation and all that trouble. So we usually give him a year or two off in between pets. So we'll be dogless and enjoying the lack of responsibility for a little while. But what have you guys' experiences been with losing pets? I know you both have dogs. Have you had any dogs pass away while your kids have been young? And how did you all handle that? And let's start talking about that. Catherine, how has your dog situation been?
Yeah, we had, before the two that we have now who are, they've been on the podcast before because they are loud.
Yeah. We never got our day of having them all bark at each other through the internet.
Well, we, my husband and I had I never had dogs when I was growing up. Had some cats when I was very, very young, but I don't even remember them. So by the time we get to where I remember things, my brother had a lot of allergies and, fur was not welcome in our house. So we never had any. And then, when my husband and I were together, pretty soon after we got engaged, I think. Anyway, we adopted a dog together, and from actually the Bergen County Animal Shelter that's right there.
Was that in Oakland?
Teterboro?
The one in Oakland? Oh, okay.
I think.
So I got my cat when I first moved here. I got from, I think it was Bergen County Animal Shelter, but it was in Oakland.
Yeah.
So
I feel like this was in Teterboro and maybe it wasn't Bergen County, but it was, anyway.
Could have been.
So we went together and picked her out at the shelter. And so we had her before we were married, before we had kids. But then, my daughter was born, and I've showed you guys the picture of my daughter as a baby and this dog both on the floor, kind of propped up on their elbows, chewing toys. So we had her for 13 and a half years. And she had been, maybe a year or two old when we got her. So, we had her for a good long time. And the kids were, my daughter was like 11 or so by the time she passed away, that dog. And so both my kids were, pretty close to her, although they would, especially a few years before she died. So she was getting up there, but she wasn't, right on the edge yet. My kids would say, when she dies, can we get a Bichon Frise? And I would say, I can't believe it. Like, don't say that. So then they started saying, when she dies, it's going to be very sad. And then can we get a Bichon? Like, no, stop it.
Makes you wonder what they think about you, like, well, we like mom quite a lot, but when she goes, maybe dad can marry this movie star.
So when it finally got to the point where we knew it had to be done, I remember she couldn't really go upstairs anymore, so she was sleeping downstairs. So that the last night, my kids slept downstairs. They put up a tent in the living room and they slept downstairs so that they could be by her. I don't know why no one carried her upstairs. That could have been done. But anyway, so that was their kind of thing that they did. And so that was sweet. And she was a good girl because, that was for both of them their first dog. And they never knew a time without her. So, and then we waited probably 6 months or so. And then we got the 2 that we have, which I've told the story on the podcast before, that we were not intending to get 2, but here we are with 2.
Yes.
And everyone in the family is very attached to them. So it's, I don't like to think about it, but someday it will be.
Well, that's how I feel about, like, my girl, for example, when I read Terri's post on Facebook about her passing. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I know that dog.
Yeah.
And all her, all the different stories you tell. And
right.
It's funny how you become attached to these, animals or what, know, it's easy to become attached over time. So,
right.
No, I was quite sad. I'm sorry to jump in there,
No,
Catherine.
that's I was finished because I started talking about the current dogs who are really pretty young. So hopefully we have some time.
Have them for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
have your kids had to deal with that, Nicole?
Yeah. Well, we've been a long time dog family, and we grew up with a dog, and my husband and I, before we even married, we got a dog together who passed away. Well, we had to put him down when my son was 2. So my son still remembers him, but doesn't have a major connection to him. But our dog had actually bit our neighbor's dog. So that was kind of an unexpected and early. It wasn't a timely situation. He was becoming more aggressive and he had some health problems. So, and we lived in a townhouse, which, there were 100 other kids around. So we were terrified that something would go really badly. So we had to put him down. And then, about a year after that, when my son was 2 or 3 maybe, we got our first Vizsla, which if you know anything about Vizslas, they're just a nightmare.
But I noticed you said your first one. So you had more than one.
They are a nightmare you can't live without. They are the most loving dogs, and I don't know, they're just like personality plus. So we got our first one when my son was younger, and so he actually went out, because we had the dog flown out to Vancouver from Ottawa, so cross country. So we had the dog flown out. My husband and my son went out to pick up Bela. And was Bela around when you started this podcast with us, Catherine? Or when we?
I don't think so. I only know Missy.
Okay. I think Bela was around when Terri and I were podcasting.
I think so. I recognize the name.
Yeah. So anyway, he lasted a long time. He was an amazing dog. He was very protective.
Aww.
He lived 16 years.
Wow.
So my daughter, of course, was born during that period of time, and so she has only ever known life with dogs.
Yeah.
And so when he was 16, he kind of the same thing as Terri, like his legs started to go, or sorry, not Terri, as Terri's dog. Right.
But my legs are still fine.
Your legs are still fine. But yeah, his legs started to go, and then we had to carry him outside. And so it was a couple of days of this. Will he bounce back, won't he? But given his age, it was pretty evident that things were not going to turn around. So so my son actually, he was it 3 years ago? So my son was 19, so he insisted on going with my husband to take him to the vet and put him down, because he said, I brought him home. I'm going to take him, take him
Aw.
away kind of thing and go with him
Aw.
when he leaves.
Yeah.
So they went to the vet, but it was really lovely. I mean, the veterinarian's office was so kind and compassionate, and they had all the time in the world to stay with Bela afterwards and, be with him and whatnot. And then, and so in the meantime, and so while Bela was still alive, we actually then got Missy, the infamous Missy, who is another Vizsla, and who is twice as demanding but twice as loving. And so we all dread. We just see there she is right now. She knows I'm talking about her.
What you talking about, guys?
I know. She knew I was talking about her. She came in the room. So we all dread that moment in time, future moment in time.
Yeah.
So
I wonder about what people usually do in terms of when you have kids, or at what point you let the kid come to the vet for that final visit. And the first dog we adopted, we just had for a fairly short period of time. She was an older German Shepherd, sweet, sweet dog. And she had cancer. So we sort of, helped her along as long as we could. And then we had been going to this holistic vet. So I took her to the vet and I sat down on the floor with her on my lap when he gave her the shot. And it was just, I was holding her and cuddling her and I'm bawling like a baby. And, but it was just me. And the second dog, I think, when we had to say goodbye to her, my husband and my daughter took her, but I don't think they stayed with her while the vet did it. This time, my husband and daughter and I were all in the room holding on to her when he did it. And I don't know if it was better for my daughter that way or not. I mean, I feel like it's good for the dog to have their family around them and to know that the people they love are there, but she had a lot of questions about it afterwards that I wasn't sure I knew how to answer exactly. Other than, but I think it is important, at least for somebody to be there. Yeah. I feel very bad thinking of not having that. But I don't know whether that was a good idea or not. Even though my daughter is in her 20s now and certainly able to do it and hasn't seemed to have any ill effects. But I don't know, have you had young children with you go for that? Or do you just say, we're taking the doggy to the farm. She's going to have a good life with the farmer.
And, I mean, my kids were probably, I'm trying to think, like 7 and 10 or 8 and 11 or something with our old dog. And no, we didn't take them. They knew, obviously. We told them the day before that was going to happen. But it was, I think they were too young and it was a school day anyway. So, it was, I remember because my son's school had some sort of like open house thing where you were supposed to go in the classroom and like they were showing you their work and stuff. And the way it just happened was that we had to go to the vet first, and then we had to go to this classroom. And I remember I had another parent there who was sort of like standing in for me until I could get there, and then I had to go there, just all red-eyed, and that was but thank goodness for her doing that for us, so that we could anyway. But I think. The next time around, my kids will definitely be old enough to consider being there. If they're at home, if they're in college.
See, I don't even want to be there. So
I wanted to be there for my girl. I had been with her all night, and I was ready to see it through. If they had wanted to leave the room, that'd have been okay. But it was nice to have company a little bit too. Have you ever had an animal who died other than in that sort of way?
Yes.
Yeah, I have too. I remember my first dog when I was a kid, a little mutt named Lassie because I was super creative. And she, I think I may have talked about this before, that she had a very, very diabolically clever way of getting out of the yard that involved walking across the top of a chain link fence and sliding down a board. And, it was one of those things where she was too smart for her own good because she got out of the yard and then she got hit by a car. So I remember being woken up that morning. We were going to have a bridal shower for one of my cousins, and my mom woke me up and said she had bad news. And I was like, oh, what, is the shower canceled? Oh, no. But it was that our dog had passed.
Oh.
It had been hit by a car and killed. So I think at that point I was very young, and, there was a big party at my house, and I had a pretty dress. So it was like, I'm going to just take this sorrow and put it off for tomorrow.
Right.
And today I'm going to have a good time at the party.
Save this for later.
And then when I take off the pretty dress and let my hair down, then I will cry.
Aww.
So, but she was a great dog. I mean, she was so smart and so sneaky, The box of chocolates would just be empty, and she'd be going, me? No? What? Can't imagine.
Yeah.
I think some bunnies came in.
We had a dog when I was growing up. This is actually a little traumatic to tell, but she was a poodle, a purebred poodle, who apparently are predisposed to epilepsy.
Oh.
And so she, right from the get-go, was on really heavy doses of epilepsy medication. Valium and all sorts of things to keep her, her epilepsy at bay. And this was when we were living in Northern Ontario in Canada and far away from the nearest city. And I think I mentioned last week or the week before, like, the nearest McDonald's was 5 hours away. Well, so was the vet. The vet was 5 hours away too.
Oh, no.
So anyway, we woke up one morning, I think it was about, I don't know, 11 or 12. And we woke up one morning and my mom said, Sasha's really sick. We need to take her to the vet. So this meant like big road trip, right?
Oh, yeah. I
guess she had this really bad seizure. And so we all hopped in the car, and it was like, it was a station wagon. So my mom and dad in the front, me and my brother in the back seat. And then Sasha was in her bed in the very back, so we, my brother and I, just couldn't keep our eye, we were watching her, making sure she was okay for the trip as we were driving to the vets. And just about an hour outside of the vet's office, or an hour away from the vet's office, she actually passed away in the car while we were watching her. While we were there. So, so my dad pulled over and we all got out and had a look at her. Yep, she's dead. And all said a little prayer, and then my dad covered her up with a blanket, and then we had to drive for another hour with her in the car. It was terrible.
Oh, wow.
It was absolutely traumatic. And so then we got to the vet, and my mom and dad took her in, and then I don't know. They said that she was buried, but I doubt it.
Yeah. That's after you've had this emotional thing. They're like, do you want the ashes to keep? Or do you want her to have just like be cremated with a bunch of other dogs? And it's like, well, I want the cheaper thing, of course, but it sounds terrible to say it now. Can we wait for that? Can you call me at home later?
Can I tell you later? Yeah, we, with our dog from a few years ago, our kids wanted the ashes. So, because my husband and I were like, what are we going to do with them? Like, just... but they insisted. So now we have an urn, and we have...
Oh my.
Yes.
I mean, I did ask my daughter, because she is very emotional about everything, but I think at that point it's like, I'm in love with the cuddly, sweet, furry thing. A box of ashes ain't going to do it for me. So, why would I want that?
Right.
But, have you guys had any like family rules or thoughts about how far do you go in medical care for a dog? I know I had some friends growing up whose dog had diabetes, and they were constantly giving her medications and it was very, very complicated to manage it. This would have been like in the 60s and 70s, so it may have gotten easier now. And, the sort of the tacit understanding at my house was, we wouldn't do that. And, as I say, we had this dog who had cancer, was diagnosed shortly after we had adopted her from the shelter. And it's like, we loved her. She was a sweet dog, but we couldn't see putting her through all the treatments, and we couldn't see putting ourselves through all the expense. So we did go to a holistic vet who put her on a special diet, and she lived longer than she would have. But,
Right.
we never really seriously considered doing radiation and chemotherapy and all this stuff, because what kind of life would that have been for the dog?
Yeah.
You can prolong your life, but she's never going to understand what's going on, and she's going to be unhappy. She loved taking walks. She wouldn't be able to do that. So do you have like a line that you don't cross as a family and just please, please, please hope my dog doesn't get sick in a way that I can do something about for a lot of money?
I know, it's so hard
Yeah.
because, like, with the dog that we had growing up who had the epilepsy, and she was on Valium, and the pharmacist told my mother at one point she was she had the largest prescription of Valium in town, apparently.
Did they make it clear it's for the dog? It's for the dog. Really, it's for the dog.
Yeah, so we did that to keep her going, and then I don't know, it's just so dependent on what their situation is and what their prognosis is,
and age too.
It's tough.
Our dogs were always older, so that made the decision easier. It wasn't like a puppy who had a whole life ahead of them. But I mean, in a way, it's a member of the family, so you feel terrible saying, well,
Right.
I think we've come to the end of the line on this, kids. But it's just,
Yeah.
Well, I was, it was a terrible last night for my girl, and I feel sad that she had to go through that, and I hope I provided her with some comfort through it. But it was nice that it was pretty clear that her time had come.
Right.
As she had been declining for 3 months, we'd been thinking, at some point we're going to have to make a decision.
Right.
And it would have been a subjective decision. And now, when she had this crisis, it was pretty objective. And the vet was strongly encouraging us that there's no point in doing anything real in this.
Right.
So that was very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Right.
Poor my girl. R.I.P. Yeah, when we adopted her, she had become available because her previous owner had died suddenly, and there was nobody in his family who would take her. So she wound up at the shelter, and she was an older dog, and she's a little, let's say, spirited, because probably I can't say what she really was on a family podcast, but she was a lot, and so they were very, very, very grateful that we decided to take her. So now I like to think that she's in heaven with her previous owner and having a happy reunion. And that's what I've told the kids to imagine also. Because, he's the one who named her my girl. So clearly they had a close attachment. And, I think she was like 6 maybe when she came to us. They had a whole life together. So I hope she's chasing trucks,
barking at postmen
and barking at angels, and and everybody loves her. And she's back with her guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've lost a member of our podcast team.
We sure did.
Yes.
Wow.
But there may be another one coming along, but probably
we will
not
look
for a
forward
while.
to that, meeting the newest member when the time
It
comes.
has to get up to the point where I no longer feel any sympathy to my husband, and we'll just say, we're getting a dog. You're out overruled 3-1. That'll be a year or 2.
Isn't that the truth, though?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of all this sadness, oh my gosh. I mean, not that this is a positive topic. It just kind of carries on.
It's a good cry, right?
It's
cathartic.
Therapeutic.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to our speed round, and the question today is, what movie scene made or makes you cry the most? Is there movie that really stands out that makes you shed a tear or bawl your eyes out?
Oh, I'm sure there are a lot of them. It's just can I think of any?
I know. My answer is
offhand.
all of the
Yes. All of the scenes where the music swells and the guy and girl get together over great hardship. I'm bawling.
Yeah,
or the animal dies.
But Terri, have you seen Inside Out, the Pixar movie?
No, kind of on purpose. I have not seen it because I know it would make me incredibly sad and crying, and I just don't want to go there. But Toy Story, all the Toy
There's
Stories.
crying in those.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There's crying.
My dad
There's
and I
crying in
took
baseball. There's crying everywhere.
my dad and I took my son to Inside Out, and my dad and I are both just like dripping,
really?
like we're just weeping through this one whole part, and he's just in between us, like, yeah, that's like it did not affect. You know, because it's the sad part in that movie is sad for grown-ups. Absolutely.
Yes, that is true.
It is not really sad for kids. I mean, I think kids just take it in stride. Same with Up. Remember Up? And there's a whole scene where the old man in the movie, there's like a flashback to him and his wife, like, losing a baby. And I mean, gosh. There's no amount of, like, goofy dogs and... you know, silly looking birds that are in that movie that can take away that.
This is why I don't see a lot of Disney or Pixar movies, because they give me feelings and I don't want them. It's like, just reading the reviews of them, I'm like, no, covering my ears. I'm not going to do that.
Well, I kind of avoid them like the way you both avoid psychological thrillers and
horror movies.
Dystopian horror.
Yes. No,
I hate going near sad movies. Like The Fault in Our Stars, forget it.
Oh, I didn't see
that.
I didn't.
No way.
I can't remember if I saw that movie, but I read the book. I might have seen the movie too, but yeah, that was super sad.
Stayed away from that one. But you know which one really made me cry? It's actually one of my favorite movies. All-time favorite movies. It's one of the few, because as you know, I don't like to watch repeat.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like to watch things more than once. This is one of the few that I'll watch more than once. It's so random, but I love the movie Brokeback Mountain. And the scene at the... Pardon?
I never saw that.
Oh, so good. And the scene at the end where one of the... and Jack, he dies, and Ellis goes to Jack's house and goes up into his room and then sees his shirt hanging in Jack's closet. I don't know, because it's a story about, unrequited love.
Right.
Well, no, I shouldn't say. Like, they never got to fulfill their destiny together. And it was just so sad when he went and opened the closet and his shirt was hanging in the closet because Jack had kept Ellis's shirt all these years or something like that. So I bawled my eyes out. It's just so random.
You know what's a silly thing that gets me crying in movies? It's not even a sad thing. It's not an emotional thing. It's musical numbers. Yeah. Something about a really done musical number with people singing and dancing. I mean, especially if I'm seeing something live, but even in a movie, it will just, my eyes will automatically tear up for no good reason. Just other than, look at them all singing and dancing. So beautiful.
I can get that way when I watch skating.
Yes.
Not just your own kid, but the whole team. And they worked so hard and then they got through it and nobody fell. And then all of a sudden we're all crying.
I'm so proud of them.
We just cried.
I will cry at them. I will cry at TV
Definitely
commercials.
The Titanic.
Anything.
Someone mentioned...
The Titanic made me cry.
Oh, well,
My husband was like, why are you crying? You knew that it was going to end this way.
Well, yeah, but you got to know them before they drowned.
He's like, you know the ending. It's not a surprise. Stop crying.
Something I think I was listening to the podcast and they were talking about Jerry Maguire. And so I looked up that You Had Me at Hello scene and bawled on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, The Notebook. How about The Notebook?
Saw it.
I never saw The Notebook.
Yeah, didn't see it.
Oh, that was sad
remember.
At the end.
You know, they say, I don't know if you've read this, but that somehow when you're on an airplane, your emotions are heightened. And so when you watch a sad movie on an airplane, you're even more just bawling all over yourself. Yeah, and I actually watched the movie Beaches on an airplane.
Oh, gee.
And I think I was 18 or something. It was a long time ago, but I can remember you just
Is that song?
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
It's so embarrassing to be like just crying your eyes out. Oh.
It feels good sometimes, though, to be crying about something that's not real.
Yes.
You know, just get those feelings out.
Yes, and I remember at that time, I was having some weird health symptoms, and right before we left on that trip, they're like, well, it might be lupus, and then see ya. And so I think that was, like you said, definitely something like, let's cry about something else. And, you know, it didn't turn out to be.
Yes.
I did not have that. So, but yeah, I feel like that happens with a sad movie.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But even the happy parts make me cry sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
The happy revolution. Right. The happy resolution.
Absolutely.
And of course, we all cry at certain commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, right now there's like a, you know, it's like Verizon Wireless for military members. And you see like the little toddler talking to their parent on the phone and the dog greeting the... All right.
Did y'all see Marley and Me?
Yes.
No, I missed that too. I think my daughter might have seen that. I think she read the book of that. But dogs.
That was sad.
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't even have to be like a particularly good movie. We saw for our round 2, we watched He's Just Not That Into You Again. But that scene at the end where he comes to her door and he admits that she's the one for him, I'm just... even though probably it's only going to last like a month, because seriously. But still.
Yeah.
He came.
He did.
Wow.
Even as my brain is saying, oh, come on, this isn't that good. Really? You're going to cry about this? Really?
No. You know what happens, Terri.
Anyway.
Yes.
So we are suckers.
Mm-hmm. In conclusion,
clearly.
we are suckers. There you go.
We cry easily.
We do.
Happy things, sad things, musical things. We're in tears.
Hi, we hope you're enjoying this episode of Parenting Roundabout. We're not one of those podcasts that's trying to sell you websites or mattresses or meal kits. I mean, we totally would, but no one's asked us yet.
There is, however, something you can do that costs you nothing, but will put a little change in our pockets. Listen to our podcast on the Radio Public app. Download the app to your iPhone or Android device and listen to Parenting Roundabout there, and we'll get paid for each listen. Plus a little more if you listen a lot.
We think you'll enjoy listening to all your podcasts on this app, but if you could at least listen to Parenting Roundabout there, we'd be very grateful. Now, back to the episode.
Maybe we can shift gears now. Move on to our next topic, and remember that you can hear a new speed round every Wednesday through Friday, and they won't all be sad.
That's right. And now we're going to bring you some of the things we've read or seen or used recently that we want to shout out and share with you. And usually these are things that, make us happy in some way, right?
Yeah.
So, Terri, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think I might have mentioned here that we were having some work done on yet another bathroom. I know you all went through the saga of the bathroom here in my bedroom office, but now my kid's bathroom desperately needed an updating. It had like one of those pink marble laminate vanities from the 70s, and the bathtub and the tile were pretty bad. So we went with the same place that we had used before, which is Mr. Handyman. They send this guy, the same guy, out to do it. And, he did a nice job. It's done now, and we're looking at all the other things around the house he could do. But if you are in the position, as we were, of I have to hire a contractor to do something, but when I hire a contractor, they don't show up, or they don't finish, or... I'm left with a hole in the floor of my room for 2 months while they go finish up something else. If you ever had trouble with that, you might consider seeing if there is a franchise of Mr. Handyman someplace near you. I've been very impressed with the one near us. The fact that they come when they say they're going to come, and they do. It's not cheap, sadly. But, it's somebody who can do a variety of different things, generally. If he sees something else that needs to get plugged up or or pasted over or whatever. He's very creative in being able to solve problems as he goes, instead of, okay, well, you have to hire somebody for this, you have to hire somebody for that, and the other thing. We've been very pleased with them. This is the second project we've used them for. I wish it had been cheaper, but the experience of actually having the contractor here and doing the work was very pleasant, and I never had to worry about it being left undone and not having anybody to call. We had a tree taken down in our yard, and they took down part of another tree, and I kept calling them to come and fix it. Never heard from them again. Mr. Handyman, they want to keep coming and doing stuff in your house. So I feel like they care a little bit more. So I see that they are a national franchise. The one we use is in Wayne, New Jersey. And a very nice guy named Keith comes and does things in our home, and we've been happy with it. So if you are in a position of not being sure what to do, you might look and see if there is one near you. We'll have the link to the locator map in our show notes. But thank you, Mr. Handyman. You will be back.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yes, he looks around our house every time he's here and goes, oh, you need that fixed and that fixed and that fixed, and gives us an estimate. So this time it was kind of a long time between things, but hopefully it won't be so much the next time.
This week I had to bring in, we have a gas range, right? And we had one of the knobs that turned on the burners was, got like sort of knocked off askew. And so it's dangerous because, it can be on and you don't know it. So I called for service, and a guy came and he pulled it off and he looked around behind it, and then he said, well, the valve that controls this is broken and you need a new one, but they don't sell them. The company doesn't sell them anymore.
Yeah. And
this stove is 6 years old. It's not ancient.
Jeez.
And
and
he just was like, I can't do anything. I can't help you. What do you am I supposed to buy a whole new stove? Like, what?
Wow.
And he's like, I called them. They don't have it. And then he just stopped talking. I was like, no, this is where you say, so instead, he had no further ideas.
Jeez, so what did you do?
Well, right now it's just, he said, just leave the knob off and don't use that burner. That is that.
There's a Mr. Handyman in Wisconsin. You should call them up.
I might have to call them. I'm like, somebody do something.
Last year with our we had a problem with our air conditioner, and it needed some part, and I didn't hear back, and I didn't hear back, and I didn't hear back. Finally, I somehow finagled the number of their parts department, and I called, and the guy said, yeah, they don't make that anymore, but I know some place that sells old ones, so I'm like calling around the country to see if I can find somebody who has one like in a back drawer or something, and they finally found one and sent it to us, so we had to wait a little while, but somebody cared enough to say, yeah, I see the problem here, let me see what I can do for you. And I guess he had contacts round and about, so you need to find you somebody like that.
I know, because this guy was like, I mean, maybe you could find one on the internet. I'm like, as if I would know how to look for this part on the internet. Give me a break, dude.
Call Mr. Handyman, see if they can help you.
Yeah,
I just checked. We don't have one in our area. What a bummer.
I know I saw something in the vicinity of Wisconsin, but maybe it's not in the same state. I don't know. But you could check it out.
Well, my shout out this week is... my friend was telling me about this yesterday. We went for lunch and I commented on her very stylish khaki pants that she was wearing and asked her where she got them, and she said that she found them on a site called Thredup.com. So THREDUP.com, and it claims to be like the largest online thrift / secondhand clothing store. Yeah. Anyway, it's actually looks like a lot of good stuff on there. So I've been like perusing the site the last 2 days, and you can search by brand name and size, and they sell shoes and handbags and sunglasses and jewelry and maternity wear.
And you can they'll send you a bag if you want to submit some of your own stuff, I think.
Yeah.
And then you get a credit or whatever. So I went so far as getting that here, and then I saw the list of clothes they would accept and realized that my 20-year-old things from, pennies probably are not what they're looking for.
Yeah, you're right. And it says they're looking for denim jackets, pullovers, casual dresses, jewelry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can put it in a bag and send it away. But then there's all sorts of, I was looking at Kate Spade sunglasses and, Coach purses. There's all kinds of cool stuff on there.
Yeah.
So, check it out.
It is neat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And my shout out is just an article that was a story from NPR, which I happened to read on their website, but I'm sure you could also have heard it on the radio. But it's called A Toy Monkey That Escaped Nazi Germany and Reunited a Family. And I had heard the teaser for it, and then I was not in the car when it played. I was I need to hear that story. So I found it, and it's a great story about a correspondent for NPR. It was his father who escaped from Nazi Germany on the Kinder transport. So he was sent to Sweden when he was 14, and his parents were killed in Auschwitz, I believe. And when he packed up to go to Sweden, he brought this little tiny monkey with him. That had been his when he was, he was already 14, but it had been his childhood toy. And eventually, years later, he did survive the war. He came to live in the U.S. He eventually met a curator from a museum in Berlin, and he decided to give the monkey to this curator. And then it's just the story of how what turned out to be long-lost relatives saw it in the museum.
Wow. And
they were like, wait a minute, I think we're related. And they found each other. Because he had felt like he had absolutely no family because he was an only child. His parents were killed.
Yeah.
He grew up really by himself. So it was a really neat story. And it had a couple little video clips online, and obviously you could see a picture of the monkey. So it was a really sweet, great story.
Great.
So check that out. I will have the link for you on our show notes.
And now for our final segment today, we are going to do a little shameless self-promotion and direct you to some of the things on our site that we think you should take a look at. Terri, it looks like you're the only one here with something on our show notes.
Well, I've been very bad the last couple of weeks saying I was going to write something and then not writing it. So this week I have something that already exists, and it ties into our main theme. Back in December of 2014, when we first got our dog, My Girl, and she barked so much, I thought it would be funny if she had a Twitter account that she could bark on. So I started up a Twitter account called My Girl Barks, and for a while I kept up pretty much, putting her, what I perceived to be her point of view, onto Twitter. And I had a lot of fun doing it. And then, as with so many things, I kind of ran out of time and I sort of stopped. But if you want to go, it was fun looking back at the beginning of it and remembering all our early experiences with her from her point of view, sort of. So if you want to go take a look at that, if you go to twitter.com/mygirlbarks and scroll all the way down to the beginning, there's not that many tweets there, so it's not that hard to scroll down to December 28th, 2014, which was her first tweet. Give a little tribute to My Girl by reading through her alleged tweets.
Her archive of tweets.
Many cute photos also.
Aw, yay.
Yes.
Sounds good. How about you, Catherine?
Well, I was just I'll springboard off that and mention the podcast Twitter, which I don't run. Terri does very diligently, but I contribute by coming up with some of the quotes that she uses on there.
Yes.
And
thank you.
It is a lot of fun to just follow us and get little tweets, little quotes and reminders to listen. So
yes.
Check us out at PR Podcast on Twitter.
An unrelenting onslaught of quotes and reminders to listen. But
that's right.
I suppose if you follow other people, it's not quite so
overwhelming. And there's so much unpleasant on Twitter. You might as well read something that's very light.
We will fill your feed up and push those things you don't want to see down.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
And speaking of the Parenting Roundabout Twitter account, I'm going to talk about the Parenting Roundabout website. So,
yes.
Still relatively young in its content. We do have a website that you can go to and listen to our latest podcasts, as well as check out some of our quotes, and you'll even find a picture of the three of us, presumably
yes,
together, but not really.
Yes.
You can see our bios. So it's at parentingroundaboutpodcast.com. And you can also contact us and give us some feedback. Positive feedback.
Yeah, we're only accepting positive feedback. We're under a lot of stress. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Parenting Roundabout. We hope you enjoyed it and that you'll join us every week. You can listen to podcast episodes on Radio Public or download them from Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe so that you get all of our podcasts and mini podcasts.
You can also follow us on Twitter, where I am at Nicole Erdix, Catherine is at C. Haleko, and Terri is at Momitude. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at Roundabout Chat, and look for us on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram too.
Best of all, stop by our podcast page at parentingroundabout.com and read recaps, find links on everything we've mentioned, and talk back in the comments. Thanks to John Morin at johnjmorin.com for providing our in and out music. And I wish everyone a great week.